Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King. Today is Tuesday, January the 14th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I see that Alex has a different t-shirt on. Rick and Morty? Is it Morty?
Yeah.
Morty. Rick and Morty.
Rick
right.
and Morty.
So... Now, does that go with unicorn headphones? I mean, I'm just
It
asking.
does not. It is Lazy Laundry Day, and this is boyfriend's t-shirt. This is his favorite cartoon. So
okay,
yeah.
okay. So you're honoring him. That's a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
That's good. So, I've been, as usual, lately working on software programming today, and it led me to a couple of ideas to talk about on the show. Now, I'm already... Because just before the show, I asked you what you thought about a topic, and you pointed out that we'd actually set a topic last week.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do this week, which we're going to do on seasonal depression. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, how can I tie the two experiences together? And I don't have a full answer on that yet.
Oh, that's always fun.
But we're going to work on that. Because I'll just start and we'll see if there is a tie-in.
Okay.
Because one of the things that you end up doing when you're a programmer is you either go crazy dealing with all the minutia, or you give yourself credit for little victories. You know,
why can't you do both?
I got this far, and I got this much to work. Hooray! And I got this far to work, and yay! Okay, that's working. And you know, just little tiny steps like that.
Yeah.
And I was really doing that very nicely today, which was a good thing. To the point where a problem I've been dealing with trying to solve for like the last 2 weeks I solved today. So
nice.
So the little victories led to a big victory.
Cool.
Now, how does that tie into seasonal depression? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I could say, well, if I hadn't taken this approach, I'd be pretty depressed by now because, 2 weeks of not getting there.
That's a far reach.
That's about the, well, it's not all that far now that I think about it, because people have their regular work lives. People do all kinds of things for a living that they may or not be loving at a particular time. They may not be really liking it a whole lot. Maybe they like it in the long run, but right now they're just not enjoying it. Or maybe they just don't like it at all, and any of that can lead to depression.
Yeah, that's true.
Because ultimately, depression is, I'm not feeling good about myself. I'm not feeling good about my life. I'm not feeling good about fill in the blank. Right? So, okay, I made my connection. I agree, it's a stretch, but I had to get it there somehow.
Well, my connection would have been to take what you said about little victories, and that's little tiny steps that you can take to help boost yourself out of depression if it's just seasonal and it's not like a clinical depression.
Okay, well then that leads us to a need for a little definition. So seasonal depression versus clinical depression. Now first of all, we have to put out the disclaimer. We are not
doctors.
We're not psychiatrists. We're not medical doctors. So this is just us chewing the fat around the hot stove. That's what it is.
Yep,
yeah.
Just sharing what we know.
Just sharing what we know. Okay, so with that disclaimer out of the way, define the terms. What do you see the differences and similarities being?
Seasonal depression usually happens to most people around the New England area because we have the 4 different seasons. So during the wintertime, everything's dead. The sun, it has to do with the way the sun sets and stuff like that. Like it's darker longer. And also with the weather and everything being crappy and stuff like that, it tends to happen to more of us than, let's say, people in Florida with regular weather,
Well, but there are also people in, say, Finland who would know it really, really well.
True. I don't know the weather in Finland, but
just because they're closer to the Arctic Circle than we are. So,
yes.
So
their season is a little longer.
Yeah, just a bit. So, yeah, and there are a lot of people actually around the world who would have something similar to say, I think.
And then people who are in Alaska also, they have that, like, what is it, 6 months of no sun or something like that?
If you're, I'm not sure exactly what all that is. I know that there's a thing there, where you can have sun for a very small amount of time and then it's dark the rest of the time.
Yeah, because
that would be depressing.
Yes, it is. My friend lives in Alaska, and it was like, how long was the sun out today? He said,
Yeah,
about 20 minutes.
20 minutes,
I was
right?
like, and you wanted to move there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think you actually choose to live there without knowing what you're getting into. I mean, that's not
I
a real
mean,
common occurrence.
yeah, you're right. You're
You
right.
know, I mean, on the other
I
hand,
don't think
maybe
he was expecting the 52 below that it was yesterday, but
52 below. I have not experienced 52 below. I've experienced 45 below. That's cold enough.
oh, I have experienced nothing below, so I'm good.
And I've experienced minus 60 cold chill, wind chill, which
Mm,
is on the
yeah, I've
same day
definitely
as the minus
experienced the wind chill.
45. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that when you're in minus 45 territory and you throw the wind chill in, it just feels cruel at that point.
Yeah, it's just so disrespectful.
But yeah, that can be pretty depressing, no doubt about that.
Hmm.
So, all right, well, there's some working definitions.
Yep.
So let's solve the problem.
Oh boy, here we go. All right. 7 minutes in, we're coming in hot. All right. So I would take what you were saying earlier about little victories.
Okay.
So say for instance, you have seasonal depression and the sun's setting earlier, it's darker longer, the weather's crappy, so you don't want to go out, you're getting cabin fever, all kinds of things, nobody wants to hang out, you're feeling lonely, you're going stir crazy, all kinds of things. And it's just turned you into this grumpy person. And
Mm.
so I say, when those type of things happen, that's when you start to count the little victories. Like, hey,
Okay.
it's maybe 6 feet of snow, but the sun came out today, so it's melting.
That definitely takes some work,
Oh, it does. It does. It takes a lot of work to learn how to look on the bright side of things, let me tell you.
especially when there's not a whole lot of bright.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, well, we're talking in a sense to your friend who lives in Alaska, really.
Hmm.
Okay. So, let's say, for the sake of discussion, that the person who's living in Alaska is not having a whole lot of success with Formula A. What's Formula B?
Formula B. Always speak to someone.
Yes.
Whenever you're feeling distressed in any type of situation, always bounce ideas off of someone. If it's not a professional, a friend, a family member, somebody.
And I would add to that, in order to put yourself and the other person at ease, ask their permission first.
Yeah. Hmm. Because
Because
some
then you
people
don't.
aren't prepared for
That's right.
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot. And maybe they're not in a good place to be able to handle it at that particular point in time.
Right.
But now you're giving them the choice. And when they say, yeah, sure, let's talk, I can talk with you, I've got some time or something like that.
Hmm.
Now you know you got their permission.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Exactly. Exactly. You're
Yeah.
not dumping all your crap on one of your friends.
That's that's a big thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
There is, I'll be perfectly honest, there is a lot of crap dumping that goes on,
Facts. But that's
right?
a part of friendship.
It doesn't have to be though.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but it is in there. But it doesn't need to be every day, all the time.
And it doesn't need to be on demand,
No, definitely doesn't.
which is the way a lot of people tend to treat it.
Hmm.
I mean, I ended a friendship over that
Hmm. Hmm.
because this other person insisted on whenever he needed to dump on me, he'd call me up and dump on me. And
Yeah,
it's
that's not cool.
no, sorry,
Mm-mm.
not
Mm-mm.
happening. So yeah, respect has to play a big role in that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you okay, well, we've laid out two scenarios. I started to say if, but I'm not going to go that direction. I'm going to come at it slightly differently.
Hmm.
Um, so plan A is what our friend Daniel would say microshift. Take
Yes.
little tiny steps.
Hmm.
Plan B is to talk to somebody.
Yes.
Okay. Let's really take it to an extreme. You've tried microshifting and there's nobody to talk to.
Okay.
So now we need a plan C. Now we're asking a lot at this point, but how
Not
about a plan
really.
C?
I feel like in this case, then you start to Google different groups or people who are going through the same thing.
Ah, that's
Hmm.
true. We have this entire social media universe to draw
Hmm.
upon. That's
Hmm.
true. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily take the advice of most of the people that are giving the advice.
Yeah, that's the other thing because they're all in the same boat. So, and also
Hmm.
what works for one person may not work for you.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
try
So
everything or try nothing, but at least you have people to talk to.
that's a big thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's also somewhere in here we need to insert something about doing work on yourself.
Hmm. Definitely. Self-care is the best care.
It is. It is. And so, I mean, that's where the micro shifting is a part of. But let's talk about some other strategies for self care. I mean, you're an expert at that. You've been doing it all your life.
Yeah.
So share some insights. What are some of your favorites? What are the things
Well,
that you
I'm my favorite person, so being alone with me is awesome.
do? Okay. So you just start from a position of win-win.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm fully into napping.
Ah.
Napping is a big thing, give yourself time to recharge. I'm not big into baths, but if that's your thing, you can take a bath, light some candles, get a glass of wine, really relax with yourself. Read a
I
book.
find I find showers are a great baths are, and showers are kind of in the same ballpark. I find
Yep.
showers are a great way to just, if nothing else, you de-stress some.
Oh yeah,
It's
definitely.
like it's like you're washing some of it down the drain.
Yeah, exactly. I like to
Yeah.
shower because I have a speaker in my shower, so I like to dance in the shower. And that's where I get the most joy.
Why am I not surprised by that?
Because I have all the fun technology.
I guess so, yes.
Uh,
Well, it's also something you could do, I suppose. You could wire it up so that you can be dancing in your shower. I'm not sure that's
yeah,
probably the first step for somebody who's in depression, but hey, if they can pull it off, why not? Go for it.
that's what they say on Grey's Anatomy. Whenever you're in a bad spot, dance it out.
It's a good philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not impossible, but it's difficult to dance
Mm-hmm.
and feel miserable.
Yes.
Not impossible.
No, not impossible. It can be done,
It can
but
be
it's hard.
done. Yeah, it takes a lot of work actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Not the kind of work you really want to do. Uh, yeah. Uh, Maybe try a few steps and see how it feels, and if it feels maybe even a little tiny bit better, then keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If it feels really miserable, then go on to Plan D.
Well, the thing with seasonal depression in music is when you bring yourself back to summer when you were happy and joyful and everything. So get
Ah,
some of those summer jams that came out and start dancing to those.
that leads to another good way to use the internet, because the internet isn't just social media.
No, it is everything.
One of Louise's favorite things is she's in some of these groups on Facebook where they share videos,
Hmm.
uh, and I know she's a member of like a animal group video thing, so she gets lots of
Oh,
animal videos
yes.
and baby videos. That's
Yes.
another favorite of hers.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you can, I mean, not that you necessarily have to like animals or babies, but you can pick videos that are of the topic that you like, that make you feel good.
Yes, all the cuteness.
And a lot of them you can find on YouTube,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
I mean, because there isn't a whole lot that isn't on YouTube these days.
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
was watching a 50-minute video the other day of just pets doing adorable things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How'd it make you feel?
I was dying laughing. I enjoyed myself.
Well, good.
Oh my God. You ever see a dog get caught in his own bone box and just walking around and just he can't, and then he's bumping into walls? It's hilarious. How could you be sad watching that?
It's kind of like when a cat or a small dog gets caught in a paper bag and can't find their way out, so they're pushing that bag around the room, right?
Oh my God. That's the best thing.
That's a
Anytime an animal is confused is hilarious to me.
well. That's another good source for climbing out of depression. A pet.
Oh, yes. Pets definitely help.
They do.
Hmm.
Yes. And if you don't have one, there are lots of places where you can adopt.
Hmm.
And yes, there is some animal care that's involved.
Or even if you don't want to go that far, there are places where you can go visit.
That's true. They need
Mhm.
volunteers at the ASPCA.
Yeah. Hmm.
They need, people to play with the cats and the dogs who have been cooped up and need some human interaction. That you're
Yeah.
right. That is a good way to do it. And now
Exactly.
the only commitment you have is to show up for some period of time, play with them, and go away, and let somebody else
Yeah.
take care of them.
Hmm.
It's a
I
very
used
good
to do that
point.
all the time back when I used to do the mall. I would go to the pet store in the mall. That was my favorite thing to do. And it's like, oh, well, can I play with this puppy? And they let you play with it for like 15 minutes because they think you're going to buy it, but no. But I just came to play with the puppies. But yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, the ASPCA, they don't care whether you're going to adopt the animal. If you just come in and say, I
Yeah.
volunteer to play with the animals, they'll say, okay, we'll put you to
Yeah.
work. This is not a difficult decision for them.
Exactly. Exactly.
They need all the help they can get.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's a great way to do it. That's a great way to climb out. Okay, so that we established that you like pets and that you like interacting with them. That's kind of
Mhm.
like one of your go-tos. What else do you do when you need to get into a better place?
Comfort.
Meaning what?
Comfort foods, comfort blankets, comfort pillows, comfort, all the comforts.
Okay, so what's your favorite comfort food?
Mac and cheese, hello.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's hands down.
Hands down. Okay, that's the easy one. All right. And what's your favorite comfortable piece of clothing, piece of attire?
Now it has to be the unicorn onesie that Kenny got me for Christmas.
That was a great shot you sent me. You sent it to me in a
Yeah,
text message. Yeah.
it's super soft. Oh my God. And it has wings
It had wings, yes.
and a tail. It's fantastic.
I can honestly say I did not expect to see you in that for Christmas, but it was great.
I wasn't expecting to get it for
I'm
Christmas.
sure.
I've never even seen one like that in my life. I mean, I have a unicorn onesie, but not like this.
That was different. That was very
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
We touched on it briefly. Laughter.
Oh, oh yes.
Anything that you can laugh at is good.
Anything you can laugh at. I like to, if I'm having a bad day, I will go to Netflix, pick a Netflix special that I haven't seen, like a stand-up special that I haven't seen, and just watch.
And you know a lot of them.
I sure do.
So for somebody who's not as up on it as you are, do you have recommendations?
Oh, anything Kevin Hart. Gary Owen is a good guy. Tiffany Haddish just came out with a new one, My Black Mitzvah. That is actually excellent. I'm not a Tiffany Haddish fan, but she actually came through with this one.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
All right. Okay. What else do you do if you're needing a pick me up?
Hugs,
Hugs.
hugs.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, those if you if well, regardless of how you're feeling, go for a hug anyway. If you're
Yeah,
feeling great, go for a hug. If you're feeling
yeah,
mediocre, go for a hug. I mean,
yeah.
there's no bad time for that.
You can't go wrong with a hug.
Actually, hugs play an important role in my relationship with Louise.
Oh, really?
And that's because Louise was the first woman I ever met who made it clear to me that she wanted to be hugged.
Oh,
And she did it in the same way that a 4-year-old does it. She reached up with her hands in the air saying, "Okay, hug me."
yeah.
So that I couldn't miss the signal at all.
Yeah, sometimes you got to just bluntly let them know this is how it
And she's
is.
good at that. She's good at that. I mean, as soon as the first time she did that, I thought to myself, wow, a woman who doesn't play games, she's just saying, okay, this is what I want. I
Yes,
can
we are
handle
out there.
that. I can handle that. That's that.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. Keep it simple.
It was great. Made
Hmm.
it really simple. Yeah, and no more having to figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
that was one of my sources of depression. Trying to
Mm,
figure out what it is all these people wanted out of me.
yeah.
And missing most of the time.
Mm. Well, that's their problem for not,
Hey, you
vocalizing
snooze,
it.
you lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Louise was the first one to come along and say, here's what I want. And I said,
Hmm.
okay, that sounds
Yep.
okay. I can do
That's
that.
how I am because I've realized you don't get it. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's true. So, okay. Well, we've laid out a bunch of them here, but let's see if we can come up with a few more. What are some of the other strategies or practices? I mean, are there regular things that you do to pick yourself up, or is it just spur of the moment, whatever comes to your mind? Or
Sometimes it's okay to just sit in your depression for a little while. Just sulk in yourself. Allow
talk about
yourself to
that.
be sad. It's
Why is that
okay
so important?
because it can come to a point where it's cathartic. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you just sometimes you just need a good cry
Mm-hmm.
and just sit with your depression and just I'm not saying enjoy it, but just sit with it for a while and see what it looks like from your point of view before try figuring out just how to rush it away and get rid of it.
What's the advantage to that?
What's the advantage? Being okay with it, I think.
Mm.
Learning to ex- accept it from a different perspective
Mm-hmm.
other than just saying, "Oh my God, I hate this. Why is this happening to me?"
Mm. I think another aspect of the same advantage is that when you embrace it, because that's kind of what you're talking about, you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about embracing it, you get to know it a little bit better than you did before.
It's less scary. Yeah.
It's less scary. It also this is part of the trick. This is part of what a therapist or a coach tries to help you to do. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get to the point where you can just embrace it and really know it, it tends to disappear,
Yeah.
which is strange. It's kind of
Right.
a funny thing. You don't really
Yeah.
expect that. You
It,
figure
it doesn't
if you're going to
always
embrace it, it's going to get
disappear,
worse.
but it definitely can shift
Mm-hmm.
into something that is manageable.
Yeah, it can get less horrible,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
more. I don't want to say acceptable, but
Yeah, basically.
more handleable, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can handle
Handleable.
it. Handleable. Yeah, the word for the day.
All right. Hashtag handleable.
But yes, I think you're right. It's important to be able to kind of face up to it in a
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Facing this thing that has been haunting you, especially if it's been haunting you for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's kind of like crying out. Pay attention to me. There's something
Mm-hmm.
here. There's a message. There's
Yeah.
information you need to have.
Exactly. There's a
Yeah,
reason you feel this way.
yeah. And once you get that information, then I don't have to keep giving it to you anymore.
Right. The
So
2x4 with
that's fine.
nails. Yes.
Yes, they do hurt.
A little bit.
Yeah. But the trick is to allow yourself only to get hit once with it, not multiple
Right.
times.
Yeah. Learn your lesson from the first swipe. Yeah.
Yep. You're done. So, okay. Well, I mean, we almost don't even need to do an hour on that. We've got quite a selection of things for people to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
know?
That's true.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, then let's assume that we've made some progress. Well, okay, here's a thing that happens a lot. And I've
Okay.
commented on this lately too. We as people who are learning about law of attraction and learning to be a conscious creator and so forth
Mm-hmm.
have long histories of not following through. That's probably the nicest way
Mm-hmm.
to put it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we just laid out 20 minutes worth of ideas on how to deal with depression after we defined it in 3 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to bet that there are at least a few people who happen to be tuning in because the title resonated with them because they're going through stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm also willing to bet that there's going to be a small percentage who will actually try some of the things that we suggested, and the rest
Mm-hmm.
will just have sat there and listened and not really done anything.
Yeah. Most likely, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's not just for people who are depressed. That's for anybody
Yeah.
who's learning
Yeah.
to be a conscious creator. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen it with the Pivot Pals group on
Yep.
Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
That we have a small handful that are dedicated to going in and revisiting their vignettes every day and often posting, yep, I revisited my vignette.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's everybody else. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Why do you think it is that we tend to avoid, and how do we stop avoiding?
um, I know we say this a lot, but victimhood. If you're in some people, if you're not feeling that way, you don't know what to do with yourself. So any excuse to avoid trying to fix it makes it okay for you to be how you are.
Mm.
And that's comfortable for you.
Good time to put on a set of unicorn headphones, I would say.
Facts. And ones that glow.
The glow, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the explanation of why. But then, what do? How do you break that? How do you get out of that pattern of not following through, of not
You just got to
doing the
take
steps?
put one toe in the water. So pick something from the list that we just said and do one of them today. Then
And
pick
what?
something else and do another one tomorrow. And so on and so forth.
You could even repeat if you wanted to.
You can repeat. If you
Like,
like
repeat.
today's activity, do it tomorrow.
Repetition's a good thing.
Repetition is a good thing.
Yeah, especially if you're liking it.
Mm-hmm.
The real question you should be asking yourself: if you're liking it, and you're not repeating it. Why?
Why? If you like it, what's the
Yeah.
problem? Doesn't have to be a special occasion.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big piece.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of following through and sticking with it.
Yeah. And also, while you're getting comfortable with your depression, you also need to figure out your triggers and take accountability for how you got there.
Okay, so that needs a little more explanation. So talk about that. The
So,
triggers and the accountability.
and the accountability. Okay. So triggers are Like, what do you see? What happens during this season that makes you so sad? And what are the things that you can do to avoid those things that are setting you off and bringing you into this deep depression?
And I can just hear it right now. As you were saying that, I could hear these little voices in my head saying, well, I've tried that. It doesn't work.
But have you?
Elaborate, please.
Let's see. um, okay. And with sitting in your depression, journaling is a good way to start. Saying how you feel in that moment, how you felt throughout the day, and then do it for like a week. Journal every day. Then go back, reread, and see what your life is like on paper.
Oh, no,
It's,
wait a minute. I have to actually read this crap that I wrote
oh
out for the
yeah,
last week?
yeah, yeah. It's just as fun as when you're posting all those depression posts on your Facebook, and then next year when you get the on this day link, and then you click on it and you go, "What was I thinking? I put that on there? Oh my God, I'm a needy Nelly."
I guess there is an advantage. The advantage is that if you're journaling, nobody else is seeing that you did it.
Yeah, it's a little less embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
I've had some of those posts that I've had to go back and delete from like 8 years ago. I was like no one else is gonna see it unless they scroll all the way through my Facebook. But like,
Right.
no, just for me personally, next year I don't want to see that, so I delete it.
Well, I also think to myself, wow, I could delete it now, but somebody already saw that.
Yeah, I know, that's the cringy feeling. It's like, yeah, and then you look at how many likes and comments you get. It's even worse.
Which is kind of strange because you probably posted it in the first place in order to get the attention.
Not always knowing that, but yeah, low key,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then once you get the
Sometimes you just want
attention,
to be heard,
mm,
you
yeah.
know? Cry for help.
And that's when it is a good time to be posting.
I don't know. I don't know.
Elaborate again.
I don't think Facebook is the right place for you to start spilling all your emotional guts
Ah,
unless it's in a private group where that is allowed. Meaning if it's a seasonal depression group, you know what I mean? Then yeah, you're talking about it amongst like people. But like Facebook is supposed to be fun. Like, why are you bringing us all down?
well, I don't know about you. I have my Facebook timeline tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I'll like the things that I like, and if there's stuff that I don't like, I'll say block, 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 block. You do that often
See,
enough, and you don't get any of that stuff if you don't want to have that stuff.
but see, I'm nosy, so I always feel like I'm missing out on something, so I don't block anything. I'll scroll past it and I'll go, and scroll past it, but I won't block.
See, now this is what's really ironic because I am well known for the fact that I spend very little time on Facebook.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
in fact, did I spend any time at all? Oh, I know. I went in long enough to say, done for all of the little reminders at the top.
Yeah.
That was my day on Facebook, just saying, no, I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. So here I am giving the idea that, perhaps you should be sharing stuff. And here you are, the person who's on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever all the time, who's
Uh-huh.
saying, oh, no, no, be selective about what you put out there.
Yeah.
There's something
Yeah.
ironic going on here.
True, true.
It's like, is what we're saying matching up to our behavior patterns?
Not right now, but that's okay. We're taking accountability for our issues. It's okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So then let's go back a couple squares then and see if we can
Mm-hmm.
clean this up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a group that's a private group, you can share there, assuming
Yeah.
that they are a private group that is receptive to receiving that material.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What else? If, let's say, that option is not available because you can't find a group like that, or you just have never bothered and you don't want to, or whatever. What are the alternatives at that point?
Alternatives. I hate to say this because I'm not one of these people, but there's self-help books. You could read one
That's
of
true.
those, I guess. Um,
I,
also, if it gets to that point where it's really, really, really bad, and you don't want to talk to anyone, but you do want to talk to someone, the suicide hotline now has a texting option.
really? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yes.
It's not surprising, but that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's here in the U.S.
I believe, yeah, just here in the US. I don't know
Okay.
if it's worldwide.
So at least if you're in the U.S., you can text. What do you text to the same number that you would normally call?
No, there's a special number. I'd have to look it up, but there's a special, like, you know how some commercials will show you, you can get this product if you just text blah 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 at 85231. It's like one
Mm-hmm.
of those.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you have to have that 5 or 6 digit code
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
text to. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting though. Well, let's look that
Hmm.
one up. We'll try to include it in the description for this particular episode. That way, if anybody does need it, we can say, okay, go there.
All right, I'm gonna look it up right
Right there.
now.
Okay. So while you're looking that up, first of all, we're halfway through it, so that's a good time, I think, because I've been trying to do this halfway through and failing miserably. So I'm going to start a new pattern today
Okay.
of letting people know what our promotional messages are because we really want to get them out there earlier than we do. We tend to wait till like the 58th minute, and that's really
Yeah, we do.
bad. So, first of all, if you are new to the show and this is the first one you've seen, this
Welcome.
is one of yeah, welcome. First of all, thank you for joining us. And this is not necessarily representative of what all of the episodes are like because they're all different and there are
Hmm.
different co-hosts and different topics. I mean, if you had tuned into yesterday's topic and you were new to the law of attraction, your eyes would have been spinning into the back of your head because we were on such a high esoteric level. Today we're doing much more back to the basics, so it's going to vary from day to day. But
Hmm.
what you can count on is that we're always focused on what is it that it's going to take for us to feel good about our lives.
Hmm.
What do we enjoy? What feels good to us? And what happens when we spend our time focused on that kind of thing?
Yes.
That's the overall theme. And
Hmm.
if you like that theme, then you need to be a subscriber to this particular podcast. If you
Hmm.
don't know how to subscribe, I'll give you some directions. If you do know how to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Go on and get it done. It's really easy. But if you don't know how to do it, just go to the homepage of our website. That's loatoday.net. And at the top of the page, you will find instructions, usually about a click or two for most people. And after those few clicks, you are a subscriber, and all of our shows are coming directly to your smartphone or other device that you are using. Interesting side note, by the way, Alex.
Hmm.
I haven't checked this out recently, but because we also live stream this to YouTube, you
Uh-huh.
can actually pick this up on your television depending on how your TV is set up at home.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's how I have my whole family watches on the TV.
okay.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, the first time I saw myself on TV, it was a little bit of a freak out kind of a deal. But
It's a lot, yeah, especially on
it
like a
throws you.
65-inch like I have.
I mean, it was one of those instances where I said, I really need to do something about the background here.
Hence my background.
Absolutely. And in fact, Louis D'Souza, who did the show with me yesterday, he's experimenting with one of the new chroma cam things. It's a green
Ooh,
screenless background, so you don't even have to
yeah.
have a green screen, and it superimposes a background on your background.
Oh, how expensive was that? I want one.
It wasn't working perfectly. He had these little green flashes coming off of his
Um,
shoulders and head and so
yeah,
forth, but it was cool. It was
yeah.
cool. He had a
All
picture of a
right,
bridge behind him. It was a very nice scene.
cool. So
Um,
he's got a new background every episode.
well, I don't know what his plan is. It's the first one he's done, so ask me
That
in a
is
week or
very
two.
cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
That is
It's very
awesome.
good. He's kind of a cutting edge kind of a guy, but nevertheless, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, you're putting up with just whatever we have in our background. Well,
Yep.
actually, Alex goes out of her way. She's got the purple theme going on all the
Purple
time,
and teal now
and teal. Yeah, you got some teal in there. I see that.
with my white fuzzy chair.
Just proving that you love the comfort.
Yes, comfort always. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, well, anyway, now that the people know how to subscribe to the podcast, tell them how they can also subscribe on YouTube because we talked about the YouTube, but we didn't really tell them how to do that.
No, we didn't. So, how you find us on YouTube is you go to YouTube, search LOA Today podcast videos, and look for our smiling faces. Once you see that, down below, there is a red subscribe button. And next to the red subscribe button, there is a little silver bell. Click that bell. Make sure you hit all so you will always be notified when we're live.
And it's just that simple. So there you
Mhm.
are. Become a subscriber both ways. That way you get all the episodes coming in. And by the way, there's a great strategy for overcoming depression. Listen to some episodes of Elevate today.
Facts.
You know,
Facts.
it's kind of hard to
Hmm.
get through any of our episodes without feeling better.
Yes, true.
Yeah, I mean, you'd
I
have to
will
work
make
at
you
it.
giggle at least once.
Yes, at the very least. Yes.
At the very least.
And even if we can't get you to giggle, we will at least distract you from whatever it is that's driving you crazy right now.
Distraction is also key.
It's very key. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important. It's almost like giving yourself a little mini vacation,
Yes.
right?
That's why I said about the stand-up, watching stand-up videos. Yeah. Mini
Oh, by the
vacation.
way, I should also mention that about vacations because Louise and I are
Oh,
taking one.
yes.
So starting this Friday, the last show for this week will be the Thursday show that Alex and I will do. And
Okay.
then starting this Friday for a 10-day period, Louise and I are going to Florida for some
Woo.
little wintertime get away from the New England winter activity, which is
Mm-hmm.
going to be great. We're going to visit with my brother and sister-in-law and see my sister and my cousin and see our
What part of Florida?
nephew and Orlando.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
they live in Orlando. So yeah,
That's got to be sweet. I'm
that's
dying to
really
go to
rough,
Harry
right?
Potter World.
That's one of the places we're going actually.
I'm so jealous. So mad at you right now. Take lots of pictures and send them to me.
Okay, okay. So anyway, that's the long-winded way of saying that's why even if you're subscribing right now, you'll not see a whole lot of new episodes coming up over the next 10 days starting on Friday just because we won't be making them. We'll be away on vacation.
But there's plenty of the old ones to watch. Go through the
Oh,
whole library
geez.
and enjoy yourself.
We have made over 1,000 episodes. If you can't
Yes.
find something to listen to or to watch on YouTube, you should
Mm-hmm.
start trying. That's all there is to
No,
it.
no.
Because there is so much content there.
Facts.
Um, in fact, what you can do is do what do they call it? Where you watch a whole bunch of the same show, different episodes.
Binge.
You binge, right? You can binge listen or binge watch,
Yeah, binge listen or binge watch. Yes.
which is a strategy for getting
Mm-hmm.
out of depression,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you're feeling really down,
Yeah.
curl up, put the comfort clothes on, eat the comfort food, and just listen to a whole bunch of episodes.
Yeah. Nothing's better than watching, I don't know, 15 seasons of Supernatural with a bowl of mac and cheese just laying in my blanket. Mm, that sounds like the perfect day off to me. You know what? That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Not moving at all.
And if you're not a Supernatural fan, there's always LOA Today, so you
There's
can check that out.
everything.
Yeah,
Everything is bingeable.
anything that you really like, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So
In
I have
fact,
the crisis text
there's an
line.
activity, by the way. Now, this is
Mm-hmm.
when it's best done with somebody else who kind of is like-minded on all this woo-woo stuff.
Woo woo
Um,
stuff.
well, that's what this is, Let's be
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
honest.
Mm.
But so you want to have a little like-mindedness. But one of the things you can do is a sort of a back and forth game, like um, what are your five favorite things to do? Who are your five favorite actors?
Mm-hmm.
What's
Mm-hmm.
your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show?
Yeah.
And get into basically you're trying to get into the habit of identifying what you like over
Mm-hmm.
and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that I like, something else that I like, something else
That's
that I like.
also a form of grounding,
Okay,
which we
talk about
do.
that.
Grounding is a tool that you use with anxiety. When you're having a panic attack, you're supposed to distract yourself and focus on other things. So they say it's supposed to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's like name 5 things that you can smell right now. Name 4 things you can feel right now. Name 3 things you can see. Stuff like that. So yeah, it's a form of grounding.
Hmm. I would think that would work as well with depression as it would with anxiety.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, what you're doing is you're refocusing your attention on stuff you like. That's got to help,
Yes.
no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you are distracting yourself from whatever that nasty monster is that's coming after you, right?
Right.
So that's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point you want to hug the thing, but beyond that,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to get away from it.
It's like, oh, you're not so bad. I'll see you next year.
Yeah. Right. Well, even better. You're not so bad. Thank you. Have a great life.
Right, right. Yeah,
Like I'm done. Okay.
yeah.
Go away. Um. Yeah. So there's some good strategies in there.
Mm-hmm,
That's good.
mm-hmm.
We went through quite a list there. If you don't get into depression much anymore. I mean, you've dealt with anxiety. I mean, is dealing with anxiety like dealing with depression, or is it really quite different?
2 totally different horses,
They're different. Okay.
but they usually come hand in hand.
So have you had to deal with both at the same
Yep,
time?
I have. Yep.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it harder?
Yes, because it's like cyclical in a way. So it's like you're depressed, so you get anxious because you're depressed, and then you're depressed because you're anxious. So
Okay. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I can identify. I think I actually went through that, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest, now that I think
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Everyone probably has at least once in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that I'm going play. I have to be careful. I mean, on the one hand, I want to make the show interesting and go in a direction
Uh-huh.
that's on the topic that we're talking about. On the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, I've realized lately I got to be really careful about what I'm focusing my attention on. Because how many
Mm-hmm.
times, for instance, in the last 3 months that you've been doing shows with me, and this isn't
Mm-hmm.
even counting the other co-hosts, have I
Mm-hmm.
told a story about how I hurt my knee? And what did I
Right.
do? I started hurting my knee.
Oh,
Law of attraction, right?
well,
So
because we're focused on the hurt knee part, not the healing part that happened.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So when you're doing a show like this, you gotta kind of balance it out a little
Yeah,
bit.
you do. Yeah, you do.
So that's why I'm saying I got to be a little bit careful here. But I'll go one more deep dive onto the dark side, and then
Ooh.
we'll kind of swim out to the top, and we'll stay on the positive side for the rest.
Okay.
Okay. What is the worst place you've ever been in? Was it one where you were in that combination of depression and anxiety? Was it something else? What was, if you had to summarize what it was like in that place, what was that like?
It was hell. I wanted to go to sleep and never wake up again.
Hmm. Which is common,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of people.
I just didn't feel like I knew, because this wasn't me before. So I was like, I knew who I was before. How did this happen? Why is it happening?
Hmm.
And how do I get out of it? And when you're in your deepest, darkest moments, that you only see one way out, and
Hmm.
that's death. So
Hmm.
yeah.
So now let's start the climb out. So how
Mm-hmm.
did you climb out of it? What
Lots
do
of
you remember?
therapy, lots of medication. Yeah, because I didn't have seasonal depression. I had clinical depression.
Hmm.
So that means one of my neurons or something or up here wasn't working correctly. So I had to have medication to correct it.
Well, some of us kind of wonder if anything has really been working up there ever since, but no, I'm kidding.
True, true. Facts, yes.
What was your what was your go-to thing? What was the thing that you found was most effective when you were in that place? I mean, you did the therapy, you did the list of things you just identified, but what was the one thing that worked better than anything else for you?
Talking to my mom.
Mm.
Hmm.
So having that
And
right
sometimes
person to
not even
talk to.
talking, just sitting in her room, watching TV with her in silence, and just knowing that someone else was there with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just knowing that someone else wanted me around.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody who doesn't have that somebody else around, because you were fortunate, you did have somebody else
Hmm.
around,
Hmm.
um, and they're really, really in that bad place. What's your first recommended go-to for them?
I would definitely text the crisis hotline and or call the suicide hotline,
Okay. So text or
because
call.
they have the tools to help you not out of it, but definitely talk you out of it. Definitely.
And then,
And then take it steps from there. They will give you the tools.
okay.
And maybe you do need to see someone. So you need to talk to someone, whether
Mm.
it be a family, like I said, family member, friend, or a professional. You need to talk to someone.
What can you expect in terms of how long it's going to take to climb out?
There's no time. It took years for me just to get the right combination of medication and the right therapist. And for my therapist just to stay where they are, because on the Cape, it's hard to keep a therapist in the same area. So,
Oh, well, yeah, there is that too. Yeah.
yeah.
Or probably a similar problem if you're in northern Alaska,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I would think. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we've gone down into the deep, dark depression. Let's start the climb out,
All
which
right.
I think we just started to do. But
Yeah.
so, what do you do? Do you pick something to do over and over again? What do you recommend to somebody? Do they how do you climb out? But, oh, and I want to throw in something else too. You pointed
Mm.
out that it took you quite a long time. It doesn't have to take a long time
It
necessarily.
doesn't have to, but it
Right.
can.
It
So,
can.
don't expect miracles after the first therapy session.
Yes.
And, don't say, oh, I went and it didn't work. People do this for months and years, and and just climbing out. So buckle up.
Well, I think it's safe to say that it will take as
As
long
long
as
as
you.
it takes.
Well, that's the typical way of saying it. The way I would say it is, it will take as long as you insist on letting it take,
Mm-hmm.
because it really comes down to how willing you are to look at your own stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's mainly about changing your perspective on what's going on.
Mm. There is our way out. So
Hmm.
let's make that the show going forward for the rest of the 14 minutes or so that we've got.
Okay.
How do we change our perspective, and what are we looking for?
Changing your perspective. Okay, this is where I came up with the recognizing your triggers and taking accountability. So you have to know that you are doing something to cause this in some way, shape, or form. So what is it that you're doing that you need to change? Or what repetitive behavior is keeping you in this low place?
I know that one of the most difficult things for someone who's been in a depression for quite some time
Mm-hmm.
is even recognizing stuff like that
Yes, yes, exactly.
and being able to identify it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time working for a relatively short period of time. We're talking a matter of 3 or 4 weeks with a guy who was looking for some coaching help. He already had a therapist, but he was looking
Mm-hmm.
for somebody else to kind of help him get along a bit. So I
Mm-hmm.
tried to work with him for a bit, and he just had. It didn't matter what way I came at him.
Excuses.
No, not so much excuses. He just had
Mhm.
a hard time coming up with anything that he liked.
Oh, okay.
He just had a hard time identifying anything in specifics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had so thoroughly blocked himself off from his own reality, from his own
Mm-hmm.
who he was, that it was like trying to pull teeth to get him to identify anything
Yeah.
of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that he liked, any people that he liked,
Mm-hmm.
activities that he liked, um, anything that he could point to that was bringing him down, anything
Mm-hmm.
that I mean, literally, it was like trying to get a blank wall to talk to,
Wow. Yeah,
despite the
that
fact that
sucks.
he had sought me out for help, but
Mm-hmm.
he just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's a really rough place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, perspective is how you change that, and that's really what I was
Yeah.
trying to do with him. I think I actually did get him to shift his perspective, and he didn't like the fact that he shifted his perspective, and that's why he
Mm-hmm.
stopped.
That's what I was saying about the victimhood and comfortability.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because well, actually, he did it for himself. I didn't have to do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going away on vacation this week. He went away to the Caribbean. A friend of his invited him to the Caribbean while we were doing this thing.
Nice.
And I gave him homework. I said, okay, when you come back, I want you to tell me all the things that were fun.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back, and we had one last session after he
Mm-hmm.
came back. And I followed up. I said, okay, tell me about the things that were fun.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't do it. I said, okay, well, then tell me the things that you did. And he could tell me a few of those things. And I said, were they fun? And he couldn't commit to that.
Wow.
This was a guy who was not willing to change his perspective. It's not that he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it, he just
Yeah.
wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
that's really the
you have to
beginning
be
point.
willing to do it. You have to
You
be
got to be
ready.
willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be willing we're not talking necessarily major change. In the long
Yeah.
run, perhaps we are, but in the short run, we're talking about just change the way you look at something for a moment.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to do all that.
I have a
Not
hard time with that.
that's not even all. That's just a small thing to do. Just change your perspective in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Look at something a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to try,
Yeah.
well, then why would you expect anybody else would?
Right. No one's gonna do the work for you.
Yeah,
You
and
have to do it yourself.
it's not that hard unless you decide that it's hard.
Yeah.
You know,
But when you're in that low place, like everything just seems hopeless.
he decided it was really he decided it was impossible, not just
Mm-hmm.
hard,
Mm-hmm.
and so therefore it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on one hand, I kind of felt bad for him. On the other hand, I took him as far as I could take him, and
Mm-hmm.
I trusted that somebody else would help him
Pick up the
get there,
pieces.
or he would just go end it. I didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
I never did find out.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is he had to be willing to make a shift,
Yeah.
some kind. Didn't even have
Mm-hmm.
to be a shift in the right direction.
Just a shift away from this.
Just something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the first step. You got to be willing to make a shift.
Yep.
And then the second step is the next morning you have to be willing to wake up and shift again.
Mm-hmm.
And then wake up the third morning and shift again.
Mm-hmm.
and then wake up the fourth morning. Am I getting repetitive here?
I think that's the point.
It is the point. It is the point.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make this a regular occurrence, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Every single day, you have to take on a slightly new perspective. It's
To
still
the
you.
Yeah, but it's you got to do it to the point where it's not effort anymore. It's effortless. You're just doing it anyway. Like this is just how you wake up in the morning now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that is as you shift even a little bit every day, you're looking for that one activity
Mm-hmm.
or that one thing to eat or that one
Yeah.
thing to do or that one thing to talk about or that one person to talk to or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for one thing that just feels good.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
if
I forgot one other thing to help you pivot.
what's that?
Exercise.
Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
talk about the importance of that and
Um,
what did that do for you too?
I'm not saying for me because I do not exercise, but
Oh,
but my brother is a personal trainer, so he was very adamant about this. It exercise not only makes you feel good because then you start looking good, but also it's the actual chemicals that come out of your body when you're exercising help your brain.
that's true.
Yeah, your endorphins start shifting and then everything seems brighter and better until you pass out from being tired. But what that's beside the point.
So okay, yeah, I agree. Exercise, actually, anything. I wouldn't even make it exercise because
Mm-hmm.
we can tend to have stigmas attached to
Yeah,
exercise.
that's why
You
I don't
know,
exercise.
so I
Mm-hmm.
replace it with activity
Okay, yep.
because activity doesn't necessarily have to feel like exercise.
Right, right.
So the question is, what activity? This is what you're trying to answer. What activities can you do that feel good?
Mm-hmm. And
And
that's why
maybe
I
you have
like dancing in the shower.
there you go, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what your task is as you're shifting your perspective every day. You're
Mm-hmm.
looking for something that feels good. And it may take a while to find something, but when you do find it, you want to do the follow through. And that
Right,
is do it again and do it again and again and again and again and do it every day. Because that's where you're going to make real shifts,
right.
right? I was talking about it with Louise earlier today. I was pointing out to her my belief that the most powerful two words in the English language are I believe.
Ooh, I like that.
You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really think that's true. They are the most powerful. And the reason they are the most powerful is because belief only gets built up over time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just get handed something, oh, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
It's
work
not
that
like
way.
that.
You
No.
have to keep focusing on it for a while.
I had almost the same conversation with Kenny's niece, who's 12, the other day
Mm-hmm.
when she was asking me, why are you never sad?
Mm.
And then oh no, 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 sorry, this is a different conversation. She likes to walk around the room and go, I'm better than everyone. And I go,
Okay.
you're not better than me, I'll tell you that right now. And she said, yes, I am. I'm cooler than you. And so she's like, that's what you think. And I said, I believe, therefore I am.
Ah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And she had nothing to say.
you rearranged Descartes. Yes.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think that's true. To me, the key though is that with belief, you have to build it up. That it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen instantly, and
No.
that's why it's important to repeat the activities.
Yes. I did not instantly become a unicorn.
No, you didn't. It took a while.
It was a long, long road, but now here
Yes.
I am, sparkly and magical.
Yeah. And you earned your horn.
Yep. And
And you wear
upgraded
it.
to wings.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is that you built it up over time, and when you built it up like that, it became a very firm belief. It
Yes,
became so firm that in your mind it's 100% real.
it is. I'm so rare and magical, I have to be a unicorn.
There it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen overnight.
No, not overnight.
That took some time.
Mm-hmm.
If you hadn't been persisting on that, do you think you would have gotten there?
It was honestly, it was the other people in my life that were persistent on it. And people
Meaning what?
just, meaning my mom's friend, I call him Papa Allen. He's always asking me, what do you think your spirit animal is? Or what do you think you would be if you were an animal? And I thought about it for a couple of days. I called him back and I said, I'm a unicorn. because I'm so rare. And it also came from being on dating apps for 2 to 3 years. Because you don't find girls like me out there. We're very rare.
One of a kind, yeah.
One of a kind, exactly. Like a unicorn.
That's right.
And that's how I came up with that.
Okay. So it built up over time, and it's something that you stuck to. You stuck to it because you were interested in it. You liked the question that your papa, uncle, friend, whatever he is.
Papa, uncle, friend.
Just cover the bases, you know.
Yeah, get them all.
Yeah, he had raised the question in your mind, and you liked the question, and you stuck with it. You wanted to answer that question. You liked it.
Yeah. That's the beginning. Just like it.
It's actually probably the second most important thing. The first most important thing is remembering that the powerful words are "I believe." The second most important thing is persisting on it.
Definitely.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, really.
A little bit.
Yeah, a lot actually. Yeah. I think we finally kind of pulled it full circle. We started out with seasonal depression and what people are going through with it, and you tied in your own experience with clinical depression. And we kind of dove deep there for a little bit.
We did.
We also came up with, especially toward the early part of the show, we came up with a list.
Oh, yeah.
A good list of things to do to shift it around with the ultimate goal, and we've identified it here, of shifting the perspective.
Yes.
Changing the way you feel about you, the way you feel about what's going on around you, the way you feel about that thing that's bringing you down, or those things that are bringing you down. And if you are willing to make that shift every day, not only do things get better, but you actually get to the point where you begin to realize the truth, which is it was you all along. And that's a good thing to know.
Yes.
Because once you know that, you really can never become depressed again.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
You really can't.
Yeah.
If you really know that. If you really do understand it was you. Because if you understand and really know that it was you, you are now empowered. You now realize that the power works both ways.
Yes.
You can bring yourself down or you can bring yourself up.
Yep.
But you can't ever claim ever again that you have no power.
Yes, true.
Because now you know different.
Right.
So, yes, it's annoying to know that you brought yourself into that place.
Yeah, a little bit.
But on the other hand, it's really cool to know that you'll never have to go there again if you don't want to.
Facts.
In fact, I'd say it's more than cool. It's more like a gigantic relief.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You know? So, all right. Well, good stuff there, girl. I like it. You were on your game today.
Oh, I try.
We got a little over a minute left, so I'll just ask you. You're also the TV girl. I mean, and movies too. And while you don't do your podcast anymore, I know you still have your group. Anything that people know about or need to know about regarding what's going on seasonally or whatever with the various series that you follow? Because I know you follow about 500,000 of them. So
yeah. So what do I have? Shameless is going to be. This is going to be the 11th and final season. For those Grey's Anatomy fans, Alyx has left the show. We didn't even get a farewell episode. We didn't do anything. He went to go visit his mother, and we'll never see him again. Yeah. And they also got renewed for 2 more seasons. So we're on season 16. There'll be at least 18 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Wow. Okay, that's a run. That's a serious run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thanks for the update as well then. So I will be talking to you again on Thursday. My going away on vacation show.
Woohoo!
And by the way, I did get your note that you'd finished writing episode 3 of The Grass is Greener. PJ has already given her a review. She seems to like it.
Yep.
I'll be reading that while I'm away on vacation, so I'll give you some input when I get back.
All right, cool beans.
So good stuff. So thank you very much, and thank you to our podcast listeners for sticking it out. We really appreciate you. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.